Have you ever wondered why you shouldn't pick up a red envelope from the street, or why some say you should never turn around if someone calls your name in a dark alley? In modern China, horror is not just about ancient ghosts in imperial palaces. It's lurking in the shadows of bustling cities, hiding in the code of your favorite video games, and echoing in the deserted tunnels of the subway late at night. These are the urban legends whispered among friends, typed frantically in online forums, and shared in hushed tones over late-night hot pot. They are tales born from the anxieties of a rapidly changing world, where ancient traditions collide with hypermodernity. From the cursed final bus route that disappears into the night, to the sinister secrets hidden within a popular Guangzhou restaurant, these stories are closer than you think. They are the cautionary tales for the digital age, a new generation of folklore for a nation of over 1 billion people. Tonight, we descend into the neon-lit abyss of China's most unsettling urban legends. We'll explore 10 tales that have haunted city dwellers for decades. Some are grim warnings disguised as fiction, while others are rumored to be terrifyingly true, with real police reports and missing person cases that have never been solved. These aren't your grandmother's ghost stories. They are the modern nightmares of a superpower. Stories that reflect the fears of loneliness in a crowded world, the loss of identity, and the chilling idea that even in the brightest of cities, some darkness can never be escaped. We will investigate the mysterious disappearance of a bus full of passengers on a stormy night in Beijing, a story that has become one of China's most infamous unsolved mysteries. We'll look into the haunting tale of the Chengdu zombie boy, a bizarre incident from the 1990s that sparked a citywide panic and left experts baffled. We will also explore the digital ghosts that haunt online platforms, from cursed social media challenges to haunted video game files that supposedly drive players to madness. These legends are more than just scary stories. They are a window into the collective psyche of modern China, revealing the fears that festered just beneath the surface of its gleaming metropolises. Prepare yourself for a journey where the lines between reality and myth blur, where every dark corner of the city could hold a terrifying secret, and where technology itself can become a vessel for the supernatural. These stories have spread like wildfire for a reason. They feel real, because in a world moving this fast, anything feels possible. The tales we are about to share have kept countless people awake at night, double-checking their locks and glancing nervously over their shoulders. So, turn down the lights, but maybe don't turn them off completely. Lean in closer and listen carefully, because once you hear these urban legends, you'll start seeing their shadows everywhere, in the reflection of a subway window, in the flicker of a faulty streetlight, and in the eerie silence of your own home. Keep your wits about you, and remember, once you start listening to an urban legend, you might just become a part of the next one. Number 10. The Curse of the Burning House. Deep in the heart of rural Sichuan province, nestled amongst misty mountains and ancient bamboo groves, stands a house that should have been reduced to ashes long ago. Yet it remains. Locals call it Zhái, the firehouse. It's a place that keeps keeps burning, over and over, caught in a terrifying loop of flames and despair. A place where the past refuses to die. Every family that has ever dared to call this place home reports the exact same bone-chilling nightmare. It begins with a faint sound like the whimpering of a lost child. Soon, the whimpering turns into the heart-wrenching sobs of a woman in agony. As the dream intensifies, you see her, a spectral figure writhing in a sea of fire, her face a mask of eternal torment. Her silent screams tear through your mind, but it's her eyes that truly haunt you, pools of fiery hatred and unending sorrow. You jolt awake, your heart hammering against your ribs. The phantom smell of scorched wood and something sickeningly sweet like burning flesh still clinging to the air. But the nightmare doesn't end when your eyes open. That's when the real terror begins. Your bedroom fills with a thick, acrid smoke that chokes you, stings your eyes, and sends you into a blind panic. You scramble out of bed, your feet touching floorboards that are inexplicably hot to the touch. Then you see it, a small orange flicker dancing in the corner of the room, growing with unnatural speed. Fire erupts from the walls, the furniture, the very floor beneath you, with absolutely no logical cause. No faulty wiring, no tipped candle, no stray ember. Just spontaneous, raging fire born from a centuries-old curse. The legend whispered by the village elders is a grim one. A tale of injustice and vengeance that has stained the very soil the house is built upon. Centuries ago, during a time of fear and superstition, a young woman named Li Hu lived there. She was a healer, known for her knowledge of herbs and her uncanny ability to soothe fevers and mend broken bones. But her gifts made the villagers fearful. When a strange plague swept through the region, their fear curdled into hate. They accused her of witchcraft, of communing with demons to bring about their suffering. A mob, their faces twisted with ignorance and rage, descended upon her home. They dragged her from her bed, ignoring her pleas of innocence. They didn't just want to kill her. They wanted to purify the land of her alleged evil. They barred the doors and windows from the outside, trapping her within her own home, and set it ablaze. The entire village watched as the house was consumed by a roaring inferno. Her screams echoing through the night until they were finally silenced by the crackling flames. They say her spirit never left. It became one with the fire, forever bound to the place of her murder. Now, her tormented soul still seeks the warmth it was denied in life, but the only warmth she knows is the searing heat of the pyre. She is drawn to the living, to the heat of their bodies, the warmth of their breath. When a new family moves in, her spirit latches on, desperately trying to share her fiery embrace. She doesn't want to be cold and alone anymore. She wants you to burn with her. The fires are not just random acts of destruction. They are her desperate, terrifying invitations to join her in an eternity of flames. The house has been rebuilt time and time again, each new structure inheriting the same spectral resident. Families flee in the middle of the night, leaving all their possessions behind. A escaping with nothing but their lives and the lingering smell of smoke in their hair. They tell stories of objects flying across rooms before bursting into flame, of a woman's weeping heard from within walls that are actively burning, and of seeing a charred, ghostly face reflected in the windows, watching them flee. The local authorities have investigated countless times, finding no evidence of arson, no explanation at all. They simply board it up and warn everyone to stay away. But the house still stands, an empty, silent monument to a gruesome past, waiting for its next occupants. It remembers every scream, every prayer, every life it has consumed in its spectral flames. Would you dare to stay one night in a house that remembers every scream? Number 9. The Girl in the Well. Imagine you're walking alone on a quiet, moonless night. The only sound is the crunch of gravel under your feet. You find yourself drawn to an old, forgotten well, its stone walls crumbling, its depths shrouded in an inky blackness that seems to swallow the very starlight. A chill snakes down your spine, but an irresistible curiosity takes hold. You lean over, peering into the abyss. What if the face that stared back wasn't your own? This is the terrifying core of the legend of the Jìng. The Girl in the Well, it's a story whispered in hushed tones across generations. A cautionary tale that has haunted the Chinese countryside for centuries. Warning everyone to beware the secrets that lie at the bottom of old wells. The most common version of the tale begins hundreds of years ago in a grand estate ruled by a powerful and wealthy nobleman. He had everything he could ever desire, but his most prized possession was his beautiful wife, a woman known for her kindness and grace. However, the nobleman also kept a concubine, a young and ambitious servant girl who was consumed by a venomous jealousy. She despised the wife's status and the love the nobleman showered upon her. This envy festered in her heart, twisting into a dark and murderous obsession. One fateful night, under the cloak of darkness, the concubine devised a wicked plan. She lured the nobleman's unsuspecting wife to the courtyard, to the edge of the deep cold well that supplied the estate with water. Some say she pushed her, others claim she accused the wife of a terrible crime, and in a moment of cruel summary justice, had her thrown into the suffocating darkness. The wife's desperate cries for help echoed from the depths, but they were met only with the concubine's cold laughter before fading into an eternal, watery silence. The concubine believed her crime was buried forever, hidden in the well's black embrace. She took the wife's place, enjoying the status and luxury she had so desperately craved. But murder is a stain that can never be truly washed away. Soon a chilling presence began to haunt the estate. Servants would hear faint, sorrowful weeping near the well late at night. The water drawn from it sometimes came up cloudy and dark, carrying a strange, metallic taste like blood and tears. The haunting grew more intense. Those who dared to draw water after sunset reported seeing a horrifying apparition. They would peer into the well, only to be met woman with long, dark hair floating like seaweed around her head. Her eyes, wide with eternal shock and sorrow, would stare up from the depths, her mouth open in a silent scream. The concubine, driven mad by guilt and the constant, terrifying visitations, eventually confessed her crime before taking her own life. But the spirit of the murdered wife was not appeased. Her restless soul was forever bound to her watery grave. Since then, the legend has spread far beyond the walls of that one cursed estate. It is said that the spirit of the girl in the well now lingers in any deep old well, waiting for company. Those who pass by might hear a faint, dripping sound long after they've walked away, a phantom echo of water on stone. They might hear a soft, mournful voice whispering their name, a plea carried on the night air. The legend serves as a stark warning. To answer the call, to speak back to the voice from the well, is to seal your doom. The spirit, twisted by loneliness and a thirst for vengeance, will not let you leave. It's said she will reach up with ghostly waterlogged hands and pull you down into the icy blackness to join her. Another soul trapped in the dark, another face to stare back at the next curious passerby. So the next time you find yourself near an old well, especially as darkness falls, be careful. Listen closely. If you hear a sound like dripping water when there is no rain, or a faint whisper that seems to know your name, would you look down into the well if something whispered your name? Number 8. The Corpse Walker. In the remote, mountainous regions of Hunan, a terrifying legend whispers through the valleys. A legend of Taoist priests with the power to reanimate the dead, to walk corpses back to their ancestral homes for a proper burial. This macabre practice was known as Xiangxi Ganxi, or driving corpses in western Hunan. Imagine the scene, a lonely winding path shrouded in the dead of night. The only light comes from a single, swaying lantern held by a somber figure in priestly robes. He strikes a gong, the sound echoing unnervingly in the darkness. Behind him, a line of figures moves with a strange, stiff-legged bounce. These aren't living men. They are corpses, their arms held out stiffly, dressed in the burial shrouds of the Jìng dynasty. Their faces are pale, their eyes vacant, and paper talismans with potent spells are pasted to their foreheads, glowing faintly in the lantern light. They are the Xíng Shitha walking dead. The journey was a necessity. In ancient China, many people left their homes to find work in faraway places. But it was a deeply held belief that if a person died away from home, their spirit would become lost and lonely, unable to find peace. Their body had to be returned for burial, or their soul would wander the earth as a hungry ghost. However, the treacherous terrain of Hunan, with its steep mountains and dense forests, made transporting a body by conventional means nearly impossible and incredibly expensive. So, desperate families would turn to these mysterious corpse-driving priests. These priests were said to be masters of the arcane, schooled in esoteric Taoist magic. The ritual was shrouded in secrecy. Before the journey began, the priest would perform a ceremony to bind the soul of the deceased to its own body by using a combination of spells, incantations, and powerful talismans. They would animate the corpse just enough for it to follow their lead. The bodies were often tied together with ropes and supported by long bamboo poles balanced on their shoulders, which caused them to hop and bounce in unison as the priest guided them forward. They traveled only at night to avoid the decomposing effects of the sun and to keep their horrifying procession hidden from the eyes of the living. Locals knew to fear the sound of the priest's gong. If you heard it piercing the silence of the night, you were to immediately shut your doors and windows, and under no circumstances were you to look outside. It was said that a glimpse of the walking dead was enough to steal your soul or inflict a deadly curse. To even let your dog bark at the procession could bring ruin upon your household. The priests would shout warnings as they passed through villages. Strangers, beware, the living must make way for the dead. But the real terror wasn't just seeing them. It was what happened when the magic failed. These priests were dealing with forces beyond human comprehension. Sometimes, a talisman would slip from a corpse's forehead in the rain. Sometimes, a spell would weaken. Then sometimes, the spirit inside the body, tormented by its unnatural state, would break free from the priest's control. When that happened, the corpse was no longer just a puppet. Its movements would become erratic, violent. The blank expression would twist into a snarl of pure malice. It would become a Jiangshi, a hopping vampire, driven by a primal hunger for the life force to kill the living. It would turn on its master, and then on anyone unlucky enough to be nearby. These rogue corpses, free from their spiritual chains, would become unstoppable monsters, creatures of pure nightmare that stalked the moonlit forests. The priest's sacred duty would transform into a desperate fight for survival against the very thing he had brought back to life. Would you be brave enough to open the door if you heard the dead knocking? Number 7. The River Child. Not all ghosts are human. Deep within the winding rivers and murky waterways of southern China, a chilling legend persists, whispered in hushed tones by villagers who know better than to stray too close to the water's edge. They speak of the Her, tone the river children's spirits with the faces of innocent youths, but hearts as cold and dark as the riverbed itself. These are not the souls of the departed. They are something else entirely, ancient and malevolent beings that find their pleasure in the terror of mortals. They don't just haunt the water, they are the water's deadliest secret. The stories all begin in a deceptively similar way. A lone fisherman casting his net at dusk. A group of children daring each other to swim out to the center of a placid lake. A weary traveler stopping to wash the dust from his face. The water is calm, inviting. Then a ripple. At first, it's nothing, a fish, perhaps, but then a shape emerges from the depths. It looks like a child, no older than 7 or 8, with pale, almost translucent skin that seems to shimmer in the fading light. Its hair is dark and matted, clinging to its face like river weeds, and its eyes are ancient, holding an intelligence that has no place in the face of a child. One of the most terrifying accounts comes from a farmer in the Guangdong province. He swore that one sweltering afternoon he saw what he thought was a young boy struggling in the middle of the river. The child wasn't crying or splashing wildly. Instead, it was simply treading water, a serene, almost beatific smile on its face as it watched the farmer approach. Alarmed, the man waded into the river, calling out to the boy. As he got closer, the child extended a small hand, but the moment their fingers touched, the grip was not that of a child. It was like iron, cold and unyielding. The Hurtong's smile widened and it pulled. The farmer was dragged under, the water filling his lungs, the playful smile the last thing he saw. He only survived because his son, hearing the commotion, rushed to the riverbank and managed to pull him out. For weeks afterward, his arms and legs were covered in dozens of small, perfectly formed handprints, too small, too numerous to belong to any human child. But what exactly are these creatures? Folklore offers a few disturbing explanations. Some believe the Hurtong are the vengeful spirits of children who were drowned, now cursed to inflict the same fate upon others, their innocence twisted into a predatory game. A more ancient belief, however, paints them as elemental spirits, nature sprites as old as the rivers themselves. They see humans as intruders, clumsy and loud creatures who disturb the quiet sanctity of their domain. For them, drowning a person isn't an act of evil. It is a form of sport, a way to pass the endless, flowing hours. They are said to be incredibly strong, able to drag a fully grown man to the bottom of a river with little effort. Their methods are as varied as they are horrifying. Sometimes they will mimic the cry of a drowning infant to lure compassionate passersby into a trap. Other times, they will simply appear on the riverbank, a lone child waving with a disarming smile, beckoning the curious or the kind-hearted to come closer. They are masters of illusion, their childlike forms a perfect camouflage for the monster that lurks beneath. Fishermen have reported finding their nets torn to shreds, with strange, webbed footprints left in the mud nearby. They say the Hurtong are particularly active during the hottest days of summer, when the allure of cool water is strongest. They are the reason why parents in these regions teach their children an ironclad rule. Never, ever go near the water alone, and if you see a child in the river, do not rush to help. Watch first, see if it smiles. Would you reach out to help a drowning child if it smiled at you first? Number 6. The Ghost Marriage. In the shadowed corners of ancient tradition, it was believed that a soul who died unmarried was doomed to an eternity of solitude. This wasn't just a sad fate. It was considered a curse that could bring misfortune upon the living family. To appease these lonely spirits and ensure their peace in the afterlife, families would arrange what is known as a ghost marriage, or Míng, a ceremony that binds the living to the dead, or even the dead to the dead. But sometimes the spirits themselves take matters into their own hands, and when they do, the consequences can be terrifying. This is the story of a young scholar named Huà. He was ambitious, intelligent, and preparing for the imperial examinations in a secluded annex of his family's sprawling estate. For weeks, he found himself plagued by the same recurring dream. In it, a beautiful woman with eyes like polished obsidian and a smile that was both enchanting and sorrowful would visit him. She never spoke a word, but her presence filled his nights with a strange mix of comfort and unease. He became obsessed, sketching her face from memory, convinced she was his soulmate, a woman he was destined to find. One rain-lashed afternoon, while seeking refuge in a forgotten ancestral hall on the edge of town, he saw her standing by an old wooden altar. She was identical to the woman in his dreams. Her name, she whispered, was Lin. Wei was instantly captivated. He felt as if he had known her his entire life. He abandoned his studies, spending every waking moment with her. His family grew concerned. They saw him talking to himself, laughing at empty air, and wandering the gardens alone at night. To them, Wei was descending into madness. But to Wei, he was deeply in love. He proposed to Lin in a moonlit garden, and she accepted with a sad, knowing smile. Ignoring his family's frantic pleas, Wei arranged the wedding himself. It was a small, eerie ceremony held at dusk in the very same dilapidated hall where they had met. No guests attended, save for the silent, watching statues of the ancestors. Wei didn't care. All that mattered was Lin, who stood beside him, ethereally beautiful in a crimson wedding gown. He slipped a jade ring onto her slender, unnervingly cold finger. The morning after their wedding, a servant sent to check on the young scholar found the door to his room locked from the inside. When they finally broke it down, a scene of horror awaited them. Wei was lying peacefully in his bed, a serene smile gracing his lips, but he was cold, stone cold. He had been dead for hours. On his bedside table sat a framed wedding portrait he must have commissioned. In it, Wei stood proudly next to his bride. But Lin's face in the photograph was horrifyingly different. It was the face of a corpse, sunken, gray, and with an ancient, faded quality, as if the image had been taken a century ago. Driven by a creeping dread, Wei's family began to investigate the ancestral hall. Behind the altar where the wedding took place, they found a loose floorboard. Beneath it was not treasure, but a single, unmarked coffin. Prying it open, they recoiled in shock. Inside lay the skeletal remains of a woman dressed in the tattered remnants of a fine crimson gown. On her withered, bony finger was the very same jade ring Wei had placed there. A search of the town's old records revealed the truth. Her name was Lin. She had been a noblewoman who died of a broken heart over 100 years ago, buried in that hall after being left at the altar. She had been waiting for a groom ever since, Wei hadn't found his dream woman. A lonely, predatory ghost had found him. Would you accept love from the other side? Number 5. The Coffin Road. In the vast, mist-shrouded landscapes of rural Yunan, there's a forgotten mountain road with a history as dark as the earth it cuts through. This isn't just any winding path. It's known to the locals as Guān the Coffin Road. For generations, this was the solemn, final route where villagers would carry their dead on their shoulders, making the long, arduous journey to the ancestral burial grounds high in the mountains. A path sanctified by grief and shadowed by death. Today, the old rituals have faded, replaced by the hum of engines and the glare of headlights. Ambitious truck drivers, always racing against the clock, have rediscovered the Coffin Road. To them, it's not a sacred path, but a clever shortcut, a way to shave precious hours off their long-haul journeys. They navigate its treacherous curves and crumbling edges, thinking only of the destination ahead. But some things that are buried should never be disturbed. Those who dare to drive this road alone, especially under the cloak of night, report a chilling and unexplainable phenomenon. As their trucks grind up the steep inclines, they catch something in their peripheral vision. They say pale, spectral figures materialize from the darkness, walking silently beside their vehicles. These aren't just ghosts, they are a funeral procession from a forgotten time. Barefoot, with faces devoid of expression, they move with a slow, deliberate rhythm, carrying the heavy weight of coffins made of nothing but thin mountain air. Imagine you're behind the wheel. The only sounds are the straining of your engine and the thumping of your own heart. You glance at your side mirror and see them keeping pace with you, their ghostly forms illuminated in the brief, terrifying flash of your taillights. A cold dread, colder than the mountain air, seeps into the cabin. Your first instinct is to escape, to floor the accelerator and leave the ghastly vision behind in a cloud of dust. But that's when the true horror begins. Drivers who have tried to overtake this phantom procession share the same terrifying story. The moment they press the gas, the engine sputters. It coughs, it chokes, and then it dies completely. The truck rolls to a dead stop, plunging the driver into an unnerving silence, broken only by the chirping of crickets. In a panic, you try the ignition again, but the engine won't turn over. Your vehicle is held captive by an unseen force. Frantically, you look back, your eyes searching the darkness for the figures that were just beside you. But they're gone. The road is empty. There is no procession, no coffins, no pale walkers. There is nothing but you, your stalled truck, and the suffocating feeling that you are not alone. After a few agonizing minutes that feel like an eternity, the engine will suddenly roar back to life on its own, as if released from a supernatural grip. The legend doesn't end there. Local elders whisper a warning to the reckless drivers who use the path. They say the spirits are not malicious, but they are guardians of a sacred tradition. They are simply continuing their final journey, a journey that has been repeated for centuries. By speeding past them, you are showing the ultimate disrespect, not just to the dead, but to the very act of remembrance. The stalled engine isn't a threat, it's a command. A command to stop, to wait, and to let the dead pass in peace. They say, if you simply slow down and allow the spectral procession to move ahead, they will eventually fade into the mists, and you will be allowed to continue your journey unharmed. But the question remains for anyone who finds themselves on that lonely stretch of asphalt in the dead of night. When faced with the impossible, when the boundary between our world and the next becomes terrifyingly thin, what would you do? Would you keep driving or stop when the dead cross your path? Number 4. The Hungry Ghost Festival. During the 7th lunar month, the gates of the underworld creak open on their ancient hinges. For 30 days, the boundary between the living and the dead dissolves into a thin, permeable veil. The living burn joss paper, offer mountains of food, and meticulously avoid going out at night, because the hungry ghosts, tormented by an insatiable hunger and a desperate longing for the world, they lost roam free among us, seeking warmth, sustenance, or perhaps revenge. This isn't just a story told to frighten children. In many parts of Asia, this month is a time of genuine fear and caution. The air grows heavy, thick with the scent of incense and the unspoken dread of what lurks in the shadows. The rules are simple, passed down through generations, each one a lesson learned in terror. Never hang your clothes outside to dry overnight, lest a wandering spirit try them on and bring its misfortune into your home. Never turn around if someone calls your name from behind in an empty alley, for it may not be a human voice you hear. Those who ignore these ancient warnings, whistling a cheerful tune into the oppressive silence of the night, swimming in the dark murky waters of a lake, or foolishly kicking over the roadside offerings left for the dead, are said to invite a curse upon themselves. They might find they've picked up an unwanted passenger, a shadow that follows them home, a chilling presence that doesn't belong in this world. The most terrifying tales speak of those who, driven by modern skepticism, mock the traditions, only to find themselves the target of a vengeful ghost. Imagine a young man, a tourist, laughing at the locals as they carefully step around a small pile of fruit and smoldering incense on the sidewalk. He kicks it, scattering the oranges across the pavement, a defiant act of disrespect. That night, he wakes up to the sound of weeping coming from the corner of his hotel room. A faint, cloying smell of decay fills the air. He sees nothing, but he feels it, a cold so profound it seeps into his bones. The weeping gets closer, a mournful, guttural sound of a soul in agony, and a single, icy hand touches his cheek. He is never the same again, forever haunted by the ghost he insulted, a constant, unseen companion whispering of its endless hunger in his ear. Another story tells of a group of teenagers who dared each other to swim in the ocean after midnight during the festival. As they splashed and laughed, one of them felt something brush against her leg. It wasn't seaweed. It was cold and felt disturbingly like fingers. She screamed, but her friends thought she was joking. When they finally got out of the water, they noticed she was missing a shoe. Later that night, she awoke to find wet footprints leading from the hallway to her bed, and her missing shoe placed neatly beside her pillow, filled with sand and smelling of the deep, dark sea. The ghost of a drowned woman had followed her, believing the girl was her long-lost child. These are not just superstitions. They are survival guides for a month when the world is not entirely our own. Every flickering candle on a makeshift altar, every pile of fake money turned to ash is a desperate plea to the unseen visitors. Take this offering and leave us in peace. The opera stage is built for no living audience. The empty front row seats reserved for spectral guests all serve as a chilling reminder that we are sharing our streets, our homes, and our world with those who have returned. They are hungry, they are lonely, and some are deeply, deeply angry. Would you dare to walk outside on ghost night if something unseen followed you home? Number 3. The Ghost in the Mirror. In ancient China, mirrors were more than just reflections of our world. They were believed to be gateways, portals to another realm where spirits dwelled. They were said to trap souls, holding the essence of those who gazed too long into their depths. A simple piece of polished bronze or silvered glass could become a prison for the unwary. Our story begins not in ancient times, but in modern-day Shanghai, a city of dazzling lights and deep shadows. A young couple, Li Wei and Mei, had just moved into their first apartment. To celebrate, they scoured the Dong Tai Road antique market, a labyrinth of forgotten treasures and whispered histories. Tucked away in a dusty corner, they found it, a magnificent, full-length mirror. Its frame carved with intricate dragons and phoenixes, its glass clouded with the patina of age. The vendor, an old man with eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 stories, sold it to them for a price that felt almost too good to be true. He simply warned them, "Some things are old for a reason. Be careful what you let into your home." They hung the mirror in their bedroom, where it seemed to drink the light from the room, its surface dark and mysterious. For the first few days, all was well. They admired their reflections, imagining the generations of people who had done the same. But soon, the strange occurrences began. It started with whispers, faint as the rustle of silk, seeming to come from the direction of the mirror whenever they passed by. They dismissed it as the wind, the old building settling. Then came the apparitions. May would be brushing her hair, and for a fleeting second, she would see a face behind her own in the glass, a pale, gaunt woman with long dark hair obscuring her features. When she would spin around, no one was there. Li Wei, skeptical at first, started seeing things too. A fleeting shadow, a flicker of movement in his peripheral vision, always originating from the mirror's cold surface. The apartment grew colder, and an unshakable feeling of being watched settled over them. One night, May was awoken by a chilling sound. It was the soft, melodic humming of an old nursery rhyme. The sound was coming directly from the mirror. Trembling, she sat up and looked. Her own reflection stared back, but it wasn't just her. Behind her reflection stood the spectral figure of the pale woman, her face now visible. It was contorted in a silent scream, her eyes hollow and black. May tried to scream, but no sound came out. Her own reflection simply watched, a faint, unnerving smile playing on its lips. Terrified, Li Wei insisted they get rid of the mirror. But when they tried to take it down from the wall, it wouldn't budge. It was as if it had become part of the very structure of the building, fused to the plaster and brick. That night, their sleep was plagued by nightmares of being trapped behind glass, watching the world move on without them, their voices silenced forever. The climax arrived on a stormy Tuesday night. The power had gone out, plunging the apartment into near total darkness, save for the occasional flash of lightning. May was huddled in bed while Li Wei searched for candles. A particularly bright flash illuminated the room, and in that split second, May saw the mirror. Her reflection was standing up, even though she was still lying down. It was walking slowly, deliberately, toward the edge of the glass. Another flash of lightning. The reflection was closer now, its hand pressed against the inside of the mirror, the glass seeming to ripple around its fingertips like water. It was smiling that same awful smile. A final, blinding flash and a deafening clap of thunder shook the entire building. When the light returned, Li Wei found May. She was standing before the mirror, her back to him, completely still. He called her name, but she didn't answer. He reached out and touched her shoulder, and she turned around slowly. Her eyes were empty, hollow voids, and the smile on her face was no longer her own. It was the cold, triumphant smile of the thing in the mirror. In the glass behind her, the reflection of the pale, screaming woman was gone. In its place was a new figure, trapped and terrified, pounding silently against the glass. It was the reflection of May. The ghost had escaped, and May's soul had taken its place. Would you dare to look in the mirror if something might look back? Number 2. The Bride in Red. They say love can be blind, but what if the one you adored was a harbinger of death? In the winding alleyways of modern Guangzhou, a young man named Chen Wei was heading home late one night. It had been a long day at the office, and the city's neon glow did little to lift his spirits. As he cut through a dimly lit park, a flash of scarlet caught his eye. There, sitting alone on a bench, was a woman dressed in a stunning, traditional red wedding gown, the kipo. Her face was obscured by a heavy beaded veil, and she was weeping softly, her shoulders trembling. Chen Wei was a kind soul, perhaps to a fault. He couldn't just walk past someone in such distress. Hesitantly, he approached her. "Miss, are you all right?" he asked gently. "It's late. Are you lost?" Through the veil, she looked up. He couldn't see her features clearly, but her voice was as soft as silk when she replied, her words laced with sorrow. She told him her groom had abandoned her at the altar, leaving her with nowhere to go. She was alone in the city, with no family and no money. His heart went out to her. It was a story straight from a tragedy, and he felt compelled to help. Ignoring the strange, cold feeling that prickled the back of his neck, he offered her a place to stay for the night, just until she could figure things out. Gratefully, she accepted. He led her back to his small apartment, the crimson of her dress a stark, almost violent, contrast to the muted tones of the city night. As she walked, her traditional embroidered slippers made no sound on the pavement. Once inside his apartment, he offered her food and drink, but she politely refused, saying she was too distraught to eat. She asked only for a room to rest. Chen Wei showed her to his spare bedroom, gave her a fresh set of towels, and told her to make herself at home. He tried to make small talk, to learn her name, but she remained silent, her gaze fixed on the floor. The only thing she did was lift her veil just enough to sip a glass of water, but her face remained shrouded in shadow. Feeling awkward, he wished her a good night and retreated to his own room, locking the door out of a sudden, unexplainable sense of unease. Around 3 a.m., the witching hour, Chen Wei was jolted awake by a strange, rhythmic sound. It was a soft, methodical thump, thump, coming from the other side of his wall, from the guest room. Curiosity mixed with a growing dread, he crept out of bed and pressed his ear against the cold wall. The sound was clearer now. It wasn't just a thump. It was the sound of something heavy and wet hitting the floor over and over. A foul, coppery smell began to seep from under his door, the unmistakable scent of blood. His heart hammered against his ribs. What was she doing in there? Gathering every ounce of courage he possessed, he tiptoed to the guest room door and peered through the old-fashioned keyhole. The sight that met his eye would be seared into his memory forever. The room was bathed in an eerie red glow, though the only light source was a single, dim lamp. The bride stood in the center of the room, her back to him. Her wedding dress was now splattered with dark, glistening stains, and she was bouncing a ball, but it wasn't a ball. With a surge of sheer terror, Chen Wei realized it was a human head, freshly severed, its eyes wide with shock. With each bounce, a spray of dark blood spattered onto the floorboards, creating the sickening sound that had woken him. He stifled a scream, his body frozen in horror. As if sensing his presence, the bride stopped. Slowly, unnervingly, she began to turn. She lifted her veil, and in the dim light, he saw her face for the first time. It was a grotesque mockery of beauty, pale and lifeless, with lips stained black and eyes that burned like two soulless coals. This was no jilted bride. This was a ghost, a vengeful spirit seeking its next victim. Her gaze locked onto the keyhole, onto him. In that moment of pure, unadulterated fear, Chen Wei knew he was looking at his own death. The legend of the bride in red is a chilling reminder that some sorrows are not meant to be mended. They are traps laid by vengeful spirits who wander the earth, forever reenacting their final, tragic moments. They seek not comfort, but company in their eternal misery. Would you still offer a stranger shelter if their sorrow was a lure for your soul? The painted skin. They say beauty can be deceiving, but what if the face itself was a lie? In this classic Qing dynasty tale, a scholar named Wang Sheng finds himself captivated by an ethereal beauty. He stumbles upon her on a desolate road, a young woman weeping, seemingly alone and abandoned. Her name, she whispers, is Chen, and her story is one of tragedy, fallen noble family, forced to flee and become a concubine only to escape the cruelty of her new household. Wang Sheng, a man known for his kind heart, but perhaps blinded by her perfect features, cannot bear to leave her to such a fate. He invites her back to his home, offering her refuge in his personal study, far from the prying eyes of his wife. His wife, a woman of sharp intuition, is immediately suspicious. She warns Wang Sheng that the woman's sudden appearance and flawless story feel wrong, like a carefully constructed play. A girl of noble birth wouldn't wander alone like this, she insists, and her grief seems too pristine, too practiced, but Wang Sheng, utterly bewitched, dismisses her concerns as simple jealousy. He spends his days and nights with the enchanting stranger, lost in her charm, ignoring the growing unease that begins to settle over his household like a shroud. One day, on his way home from the market, Wang Sheng encounters a Taoist priest. The priest stops him, his gaze piercing and intense. "You are haunted by a great evil," the priest declares, his voice low and urgent. "A malevolent spirit clings to you, draining your life force. Its presence will bring you to ruin." Wang Sheng, still under the woman's spell, scoffs at the warning. He accuses the priest of being a madman, a charlatan trying to swindle him. Shaking his head in pity, the priest walks away, but not before leaving him with a final chilling remark. "You may not believe me now, but you will regret it when it is too late." The priest's words, though dismissed, plant a seed of doubt in Wang Sheng's mind. He returns home, but the image of the priest's grave face lingers. Curiosity, mixed with a creeping dread, gnaws at him. He decides to spy on the woman in his study. Peering silently through the window, he sees not the beautiful woman he brought home, but a scene of pure, unadulterated horror. A gruesome, green-skinned demon with jagged teeth stands before a wooden frame. Draped over it is a sheet of human skin. The demon, with a paintbrush in its clawed hand, is meticulously painting the features of the beautiful woman onto the skin, the delicate curve of the lips, the soft arch of the brows, the flush of the cheeks. When the masterpiece is complete, the demon drapes the skin over its own monstrous body, shaking it until it settles perfectly. In a blink, the hideous creature transforms back into the stunning beauty named Chen. Wang Sheng's blood runs cold. He collapses in terror, realizing the priest was right. The woman he had sheltered was not a woman at all. He crawls to his wife, confessing everything in a panicked, babbling rush. Terrified, she reminds him of the Taoist priest. They seek him out, begging for a way to be rid of the demon. The priest, seeing Wang Sheng's genuine remorse, gives him a horsehair whisk, instructing him to hang it on the door of his bedroom. This may not be enough to destroy her, the priest warns, but it is your only hope. Wang Sheng does as he is told, and he and his wife huddle in their room, praying for deliverance. But the demon is not so easily deterred. Seeing the whisk, she flies into a rage, tearing it to shreds. She smashes through the door, her beautiful face contorted with fury. Pointing a finger at Wang Sheng, she screams, "You saw my secret." Before he can even cry out, she rips open his chest and tears out his still beating heart, leaving his lifeless body on the floor before vanishing into the night. Devastated, Wang Shen's wife seeks out the priest once more, begging him to bring her husband back. The priest, admitting the demon is too powerful for him to destroy, directs her to a mad beggar in the marketplace, a man known for his filth and erratic behavior. He is your only chance. Endure whatever he demands of you, the priest advises. She finds the beggar, who deliberately humiliates her, forcing her to eat the phlegm he spits onto the ground. She swallows her pride and his filth, driven by love for her husband. At that moment, a lump rises in her throat. She runs home and vomits, not phlegm, but a living, beating heart, which she places into Wang Shen's empty chest. Miraculously, he comes back to life. The painted skin was merely a disguise, but the beggar's test revealed a love that was true. Would you still help a stranger, if her beauty was only skin deep? From the echoing footsteps in an empty apartment to the phantom passengers on the last bus home, Chinese urban legends remind us that fear is not just in the shadows. It's a reflection of our own modern anxieties. These stories haven't survived dynasties, but they have spread faster than any ancient curse. Whispered not from generation to generation, but from screen to screen, forum to forum. They are the new ghosts, born from the steel and glass of our cities, haunting the digital and physical spaces we inhabit every day. Tonight, as you scroll through your phone in the quiet of your room, or wait for a late-night rideshare on a deserted street, remember that some tales are not just stories. They're evolving, adapting, and finding new ways to crawl under our skin. The terrors of the past have put on a new face, one that looks chillingly familiar. We've journeyed through the neon-lit alleyways of Hong Kong, where the scent of delicious char siu might hide a gruesome secret. We've dared to play a game on a single chopstick, a seemingly innocent act that could invite a guest you can never ask to leave. These tales, born from the bustling, anonymous life of the city, prey on our deepest fears, the loss of identity, the stranger next to us, the idea that the very fabric of our reality is thinner than we believe. Think about the Kowloon-Canton Railway advertisement, a simple, happy commercial that turned into a nationwide obsession. A ghost hunt played out frame by frame as millions of eyes tried to solve the mystery of the extra child. Was it a trick of the light, a marketing ploy, or did something truly spectral photobomb that happy scene? The fact that we still debate it today shows how easily the line between the real and the supernatural can blur, especially when captured on film. Then there's the horrifying tale of Hello Kitty, a story that twisted a beloved childhood icon into a symbol of unimaginable cruelty. It's a stark reminder that behind the cute, manufactured facade of modern life, the most monstrous acts can take place. It's not a spirit from a forgotten dynasty we fear in this story. It's the living, breathing humans we share our cities with. This legend taps into a primal fear of what people are capable of when no one is watching. And what about the Phantom Bus, Route 375? A story that has more variations than there are stops on its route. An old woman, a mysterious argument, a few passengers saved from a grisly fate, and a bus found submerged days later with decomposed bodies and a tank full of blood instead of gasoline. It's a classic urban legend, a chilling campfire story for the concrete jungle. It speaks to our distrust of the unknown and our reliance on the intuition of strangers, a warning to always listen to that nagging feeling in the pit of your stomach. These are the myths of our time. They don't need ancient scrolls or crumbling temples to survive. They thrive in the comment sections, the creepypasta forums, and the late-night conversations among friends. They are the folklore of the information age, mutating with every share and retweet. They show us that while our world has changed, our fears have remained stubbornly, terrifyingly the same. We are still afraid of the dark, of being alone, and of the things we cannot explain. So, tonight, when you hear a strange noise from the kitchen or see a distorted face in the reflection of your black computer screen, remember, some tales are not just stories, they're warnings tailored for the world we've built. Which one haunted you the most? Tell me in the comments below, and if you dare, join me next week for more shadows from across the world.